We're going to talk about third-party lenses for the Fujifilm system. It's only right, it's only fair that we talk about the Samyang 12mm f2 for Fujifilm and whoever else wants to come along for the ride. Samyang have been around since around 76, 79, and they also look after a bunch of other brand names, perhaps where you are. This lens is available branded Rokinon. I think that's mainly just the US market, but I could be wrong. It seems to be looked after by elite brands, blah, 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 but it's the same thing. Samyang, Rokinon, you're looking at the same deal. So that's that out of the way. Let's just have a quick crack open and see what's inside first of all. Drawstring bag, little instruction manual. You might need that kind of thing. And the lens itself. 67mm filter thread, so the snap cap goes on there. Seen a lot of complaints about that snap cap, but we'll see how we get on with it. And there she is. Let's have a look up close. 12mm focal length, 2.0 maximum aperture, 98.9 degree angle of view, and a minimum focusing distance of 0.2 meters, 20 centimeters. Of course, it will go all the way up there to 22. You see, nice clicks, get you around there. The focusing ring is actually very firm, but smooth, so that could be good. And of course, we've got the distance meter there on the focus ring. Decent. Optically 12 lens elements, 10 groups, 2 asphericals, weighs 245 grams and is 59 by 72.5 mil. It's a solid thing. That's a real decent metal mount right there. And there she is on the body on the T20. Looks decent. It feels good actually. It's not unbalanced at all. Let's just crack on and see how we get on. I mean, straight off the bat, I'm loving the build quality. The rings feel nice. The manual focus feels quite firm. We'll see how we get on with that. I don't think that's going to be a bad thing though. The lens hood looks like it's going to do the job. I mean, it looks okay, but that's kind of irrelevant. Let's just get on with it. See you on the other side of the samples. Oh, and by the way, for those of you that are relatively new to the channel, the sample shots are all straight out of camera JPEGs unless stated and wide open, but in this case I'm going to be stopping down to around f8 and pulling the manual focus to just off infinity and having a little bit of fun with that too, but you'll know. And anyway, the reasons for why I do it like that are in other videos, or just ask below. Right, anyway, I've got to get out and have a play with this thing. Samyang really make it tricky to keep a simple eye in this photography world. I'm not necessarily talking about gear acquisition syndrome, because this thing, it has a place in a pro's kit bag. For example, interior photographers are using it daily, architectural guys, travel photographers. You could use it for environmental portraiture. For example, you're not going to be putting the subject super close up with a very wide angle, because that's just not going to be flattering at all. You might have them in their studio, in the frame there, but with the whole ambience, and it can work really well. Goes without saying, not really for sports, but you know, you might find you want to get a little bit of a wide shot if you're there in some event that's going on. When it comes to the image quality, that all important image quality, let me just say something that might sound a bit strange, but I put this along with the 23, 35, 50 f2 just because of the feel it gives me. Yeah, it doesn't have weather resistance, but it has this kind of texture to the image, to the bokeh, to the out of focus elements that just remind me of those lenses, and I think it will work well in that kit. And frankly, with any of the Fuji lineup, it stands up nicely. Yeah, it doesn't have autofocus, might have a little bit of vignetting shot wide open, but that's easily corrected. Might be a little bit tricky to focus manually, but not as tricky as people would say. Oftentimes with an ultra wide, or the wider you go, the harder it is to really differentiate the focus. But this thing does a nice job of separating things. You don't even have to be too close to the lens to blow out the background at f2. And if you're shooting some crazy landscape and you're shooting at f2, focus perhaps on a tree there somewhere in the distance, or your subject there, but you want to get everything in, you can use that creamy texture bokeh to draw the subject in, and maybe you can get it kind of ethereal. Like, I'm just thinking now after using it, and yeah, some of that stuff, man, the weather was not helping me at all. Talk about grim and gloomy. I mean, if you're into gloomy shots, this thing with the bokeh as it is, yeah, you can do that, that's for sure. It's well set up for those precise things that you need, the architectural stuff, the interior stuff, estate agent sort of stuff, real estate if you're out in the States. The distortion is real kept down to a minimum. Whatever there is, you can deal with that in post. There's not too much work that you need to do, to be honest, to get a sweet pro level image. But what if you're just an amateur? Well, you know, if the pros are happy to use it, don't worry about it. And plus, this thing has gone up in price maybe by a third over the last year, at least here in the UK. And that's a bit of a pain in the neck, and that raised a little bit of a question over the value for money, but don't worry about it. Even if you're one of those that gets a bit bored after a year and finds that you're not really using it, or perhaps your work has dipped off in that area where you use the lens a lot and you just want to keep things simple, I think this has great resale value. As the bodies get better and better, this thing is going to continue to have value, I think, especially for video users. I mean, if Fuji do go with in-body image stabilization, the lack of OIS in this lens will make it, actually for me, it will make it extra useful. I mean, I'm not particularly good at shooting video without stabilization or a tripod, so this would be beautiful. The image quality would work super well in 4K especially. Yeah, the aperture ring clicking and stuff, that's not cinematographer's dream, but anyway, that's beside the point. I just think this thing has got some life in it. I want to hear from you now. If you've got an alternative that you prefer, let us know why. If you've been using it for a while and maybe you've got an application that we haven't thought of, astrophotography, for example, I forgot to mention that. And that's because I haven't really done a lot of it lately, but this lens could well work superbly for that. And in fact, there's some examples online where you can see people that are really using this to great effect. As always, leave a comment below. The conversation is there. This is just my thoughts, why I think this is a superb lens. Subscribe, stay tuned, and get involved. Take it easy. See what I mean about if you're too close when you're shooting at such a focal length?